What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 1 through 6 of DanDaDan, season 1. We're doing a 1 through 6 review because we're catching up right now. You were in Japan for like a month, and so that kind of put us behind. Playing catch up, and we're going to do a review for these 6 episodes, our general impressions, all that stuff. Before we jump into our thoughts on these 6 episodes, how about you give us a real brief recap on what's going on with this Turbo Granny weenie stealing anime that we're watching.
So I'm gonna kind of say this under the presumption you're watching this because you watched the show. So
yeah, if you haven't seen the show at all and you want to know what we think, you should. I think you should watch it. Check it out. All right, that's my brief review.
We
Spoilers
start
ahead.
off getting introduced to our main characters, Momo and Ken. We learned Ken's name later, but that's their names, Momo,
Okarun.
Ken, or Okarun. They both initially are really, normal high school kids, except for one is very into aliens and the other is very into the spiritual side of things. And through a chance meeting of them, basically, Ken is getting bullied and she sits in front and prevents that. That's their meeting. He gets excited because no one ever talks to him. He has 0 friends and just starts gushing and being difficult with her. They decide to challenge each other to prove that their beliefs are correct and the other one is not real. So that leads to Momo being in a abandoned building and discovering aliens, and Ken being in an abandoned tunnel discovering a spirit, I guess we'll say.
It's like a yokai.
Yeah, yokai. Yeah, it's probably better. And they both go through this whole ordeal, but the short version of that is Ken gets possessed.
By Turbo Granny.
Turbo Granny takes over his body. She goes through Momo's phone and destroys all the aliens, saving Momo almost until Momo's psychic powers awaken. And she defends herself the rest of the way and keeps the spirit in check so that Ken can have his body, which leads to a bunch of really awkward and funny situations. I'll let you guys watch that, though. We're introduced to Momo's grandma, who she looks up to and fights with, though she seems to fight with everybody. Mm-hmm. And she is a young grandmother who is very comfortable in her body and a very strong spirit medium, I think is the term. I could be wrong there. And we get put in this scenario where basically we got to get Ken's body back. Means we have to go after Turbo Granny.
Who has his weenie. Because every alien and spirit in this world believes the source of life and power is in the male anatomy. And so that's a constant theme in this show. Yeah.
They go through a bunch of ideas and plans in a training regiment. During this, the house gets attacked by an alien / spirit medium, giving us this idea that maybe they're not separate entities and maybe they are the same thing, just depending on your perspective. Who's also after his banana.
Yep.
We get introduced to, Ken or Okarun's basically ability to use Turbo Granny to alter his form and become a speed demon, basically. Mm-hmm. They fight. They do some tricks. They win. We go forward. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth there. Sorry, because Granny gets introduced in that part. But and eventually we fight Turbo Granny, and this is a whole episode thing. I'm not gonna go into the details of it. But Turbo Granny and a spirit crab are in one team. We got Momo and Ken on the other team. They quote unquote fight. It's more like trickery,
confrontation.
Obviously, our main characters win, and in the process of that, Turbo Granny had escaped just in time to jump in Ken's body, steal his balls, cover them in a gold substance, and they're lost.
Yep.
Now, and so somehow he doesn't notice. They go back. We get an episode of like just school life between the two, but now they're friends and they know they can have their weird conversations with each other, and they're really thriving on this idea because they can't have it with the normies.
Mm-hmm. I feel that.
And then they just do this really silly, like Tom and Jerry going through the wrong doors and missing each other barely thing through this whole thing, and
trying to interpret why they can't find them if they
Yeah.
want to talk to each other, while also playing with the
being
idea
teenagers.
that they really want to talk to each other.
Dealing with hormones as teenagers do.
Yeah.
And Ken goes to the bathroom and realizes his balls are missing. So he tries to talk to her. They are having a weird thing. They eventually do have that discussion. They go home. Granny confirms that there's something wrong with Ken. They go through a bunch of stuff. Turbo Granny's still there. They put Turbo Granny's personality into a cat, but the body and the energy is still in Ken, so Ken can still transform. Turbo Granny is now a cat, a very
Cat doll
smug
thing.
and angry cat, but they are now looking for Ken's balls, and apparently some pink-haired girl whose name I can't remember right now, actually.
I can't either, but she thinks she's like the most beautiful,
She thinks
pretty,
she's hot shit.
You know,
Like,
and she's kind of a psychopath because she at one point interacts with Okarun and plays nice with him, but then after is like, I can't believe that guy even fucking thought I would talk to him. Like
she's doing them a favor
Yeah.
by acknowledging his existence, so now he might think he has a chance in the world.
yeah,
type
so
of thing.
she's like
narcissistic. She's
kind of a
completely narcissistic.
fucked up person. Yeah.
And she decides she's going to go on the crusades all by herself to get rid of Momo because Momo's the devil.
Yeah, she saw when Momo used her psychic abilities on her. She's able to see that, but it's because she had the gold ball. She ended up
Which
finding
has
that.
Baba's energy.
Yeah.
in it, so she's able to see spirits and stuff now.
And so we're left at this point now where a spirit that's been in her life for a while has been waiting for her to be able to see her.
Which has happened.
And now that's happened, and we saw this whole crazy
Now it's fight time.
fight that took place a little bit where she was eating people, eating Okarun. They got out because the hair in her mouth was able to be lit on fire with the cross lighter that girl had.
That smelled like oil, which makes sense now, actually.
I was like, what's this oil thing
Yeah.
they keep talking about? And then, now we're left with it's go time, and they're going to...
Yeah, next week there'll be a fight, but
Yeah.
we're not there yet. So, thoughts?
Yeah, I got a lot of them. So going into the show, I actually had to rewatch the first 3 episodes because the pacing of the show was fucking crazy. There's a huge change that happens around
The school episode.
which I needed. I needed that episode because first impressions, the art style is really cool. I really like the art style. I think it's really great. The animation fluctuates between being very simple and like low frame rate. Sometimes seemingly like they don't have the budget for it, and then other times it seems like they're doing it on purpose. So it's kind of weird. But then other times things are animated like really well. So it's kind of throws me off a lot. But visually, I really like the way the show looks, but the animation sometimes throws me off, especially the first episode, having watched it twice now. It seems like your first episode, you would put like a lot of budget into it to get people excited, but like there's some parts that look really weird compared to the rest of the show. So yeah, just an observation. But it's, when the animation's not like at its best, it's not enough to, really negatively impact the show for me, but just something I've noticed. The story in retrospect in the first like 4 episodes is interesting enough, but the way it's portrayed in the first 3 episodes specifically is really fast paced, really hyperkinetic, really ADD, a lot of nonstop yelling and like things happening constantly that was like almost for me hard to follow all the details because it's happening so quickly. But I think it has an interesting story that is almost like going out of its way to be really weird in a good way. But like the whole, even in like some of the advertising that I watched, the trailers before I watched this, they're like really talking about that weenie. And I was like, why is there such
Yeah.
an emphasis on this? And the constantly running into Turbo Granny. She's like, I want that weenie. And like all this stuff that's happening is really, really goofy. And it kind of makes sense now that I've watched the show enough. But the show does not take itself serious, or the story doesn't. There are serious moments so far, but like for the most part, it's got this really crazy hyper feeling to it that also is like, talking about losing your balls, losing your weenie. Granny wanting to, at first, seemingly want to check if Okarun's weenie is actually back or not. And at first, you're like, that's kind of weird. It's kind of funny. She's putting him on edge. She's chasing him around. But then later, it's like, oh, she like legitimately wanted to make sure it's all back there. And now you're coming back going like, I don't have my balls. And she's like, we should have confirmed that before, and you didn't want to. So just an interesting... It's interesting the way that it's kind of written to be super goofy, but also like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fight scenes and the animation, I already touched on the animation, is cool. I think there's a lot of really creative and interesting ideas when it comes to the fight scenes. A lot of really crazy stuff. I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty clever. There's one part where they're running from the crab, but they're running from the people, and she uses her psychic abilities to like swing him while he's running. She's like riding him, but she's using it. It almost reminds me of like if you're playing like Banjo-Kazooie or something. Well, like they're working together.
It worked really well too, because like before that, we were given a situation where there's a bend in the road and he couldn't make the corner and they crash, and so like it was good. The sequencing and writing there was really good.
They're trying to figure it out as they're going.
Because for us, we got to see why she decided to try that instead of just like her just knowing how to do it all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's true. And then like him trying to do the helicopter leg thing, and like they're trying to figure shit out. But it's these are creative scenes. I was seeing that them whip around, he's run on the wall from her pulling. I forgot what she grabbed onto, but these are like things I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's a cool idea. So yeah, I like the two characters, which is good. Especially in a show that the first couple episodes, I'm like, I don't know if I like this show or not. Like, I think visually it's cool, but like, I don't know if I'm really into this story. And eventually, I think it's growing on me now. But the characters have been solid from the beginning. I like both of them, which is cool. Granny, I don't know her that well, but she's a fun part of the story so far that obviously I think will have a bigger part later. But also her whole situation where you were saying she has like a domain.
She's super powerful, but it's only within her. Basically, she has a territory that she can be powerful.
She's got turf.
Yeah. So
yeah,
but it's the same with the crab. The crab was the same way. Like,
which I thought was like a really cool scene when they crossed over and boom, just exploded. But yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. This is where the show actually started clicking for me. The episode when they're at the school was like one of the best episodes in my opinion so far. And a show that's been like super crazy and like all this crazy steal the weenie stuff and all this action and shit that's happening. I liked the more down-tempo social dynamic aspect of like them thinking about each other, thinking about what happened in retrospect, trying to decompress from that. And just kind of the dynamics of like other classmates and how at one point Okarun, now that he has these powers that he doesn't have to keep check from Momo and her psychic powers, one guy's like talking shit about her,
trying to spread rumors about her,
and he like defends her, which is cool. This stuff's more interesting, and now I feel like we can take a fucking breath. This is something we talked about a little bit already before we start filming. Is like the first couple episodes, there's no room to breathe. You're just like boom, 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 boom. It's like, whoa, what is happening? I've never even read or seen this before. I'm trying to keep up.
Right.
And now that we have a chance to, have things, the rules established, the characters established more so, understanding a little bit on how things work.
The world,
that just got rapid fire shot at us. I am definitely enjoying it a lot more, especially this arc that's happening. We had the Turbo Granny arc in the beginning, and we're going into this like the pink hair girl.
Ken's balls arc.
Ken's balls arc. This one's a little more enjoyable for me because like we got like the unraveling that's happening. There's like the objective of finding the balls. We're trying to find the Dragon Balls, but then someone happened to take one and it's negatively affecting her. Now we have a new enemy that they have to fight, and it has a little more structure that's a little more fun, and also we're just getting more talking, which I think was needed. Not a bunch of yelling about what's happening currently, but like what's going on in their heads and character development, relationship development, stuff like that, that I'm enjoying. So, yeah, all in all, I'm actually really liking the show now. I think I really needed these more recent episodes because I was really in the beginning going like, I appreciate this show. I don't know if I'm going to stick around for this though.
Yeah.
And so now that I've seen these episodes, I'm likely going to keep watching because I'm liking what's happening now. So, and I had to keep watching it because all I hear from people is that this they love DanDaDan.
Yeah, people love the manga for sure.
Yeah, and I'm watching. I'm like, are they just really wanting like the visual style? They just love like being like stimulated by this. Is that what people really like about it? But now I'm like, oh no, the characters are growing on me for sure, and the curiosity of where things can go from here is interesting. Once he got his weenie back, I was like, where's this go now?
Right,
it's over.
Right.
Like, but then now things are happening, and I also really like. And they needed a character like this, but I like that Granny's now the cat doll.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, is she just gonna be like but I was like, is she just gonna be like the funny cat? But she's like kind of an asshole and
she's
like
a bitch.
and like always plotting, and like I like the faces she makes constantly. Like she's just looking at him like this, and like she's in the bag just like staring up, and like she like slowly crawled out just talking to him. And I was like,
creepy and disrespectful at all times. Yeah.
I was like, I like this. I like what they're doing here with her. So they made her into a character. At first I'm like, yeah, this yokai is, interesting enough, but now that she's like a part of their life and they have like that weird almost Sakuna dynamic of like, we're stuck here in the situation, we're gonna have to make it work, I think is a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm liking it so far now, which is good because I was worried.
Yeah. I'm probably going to echo a lot of things you said, so I'll try to keep it somewhat brief. The art style, and obviously they're taking it from the manga, and I did go back and read the first chapter just to see. I like to see like how like it looks.
Close it is.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
But the art is beautiful.
Yeah, I really like the art style.
The way the show looks.
Yeah.
Character designs are great. I'm so happy that even though we got this nerdy male character, he doesn't have just protagonist hair. Like, thank you.
He's pretty normal.
Yeah, but the problem is, and I love ReZero, for example, but like Subaru has like the hair that every main character in every fucking anime has. That's a boy, and I hate that because like there's no creativity in male character. That's why I like David so much in Cyberpunk. He's such a unique looking guy.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. So
that's fair.
Momo is great too. I love they went for a Gyaru type who just is okay with like getting aggressive, and like the way she like will talk sometimes, like her tone of voice just comes real deep and like growly almost, and I love it. The VA is doing a great job. I do get a little burnt out on them screaming at each other.
First couple episodes was like
just a bit much,
screaming nonstop, and I was like, bro, I get it. This is like that what's happening stressful, but like as a viewer, this is like a lot.
I do think the pacing was very fast. I actually before recording I had brought up that like when Bleach 1000 Year Blood War started, the first core of that, or season, whatever terminology you want to use, was also like super fast paced, and I was like, holy crap, this is borderline too much. But it wasn't. It was like right at the line. I think the show also, if it would have been any faster, I'd have been like, I have to rewatch it. I don't know what's going on. So
yeah. I was really tired.
You were tired.
I was super fucking tired the first couple episodes we watched, and I was like sitting there like trying to keep up, and rough. It's like, and then I rewatched, and I was like, no, this is still kind of hard to like.
Oh, you have
keep
to be
up
paying
with.
attention.
Yeah,
like you can't look away.
But it made a difference when I was not
awake,
not tired. Yeah, I was like, okay, I get everything now. So I remember watching. I was like, I'm not sure what the fuck I just watched.
But I do also understand that they, in 4 episodes, just shoved information at us.
Yeah.
Could have maybe been done a little bit better, but it worked, right? And I know the world. I know what's happening. I know the characters. I agree with you. I love the characters.
Yeah, they're
done
cool.
very well.
Yeah, I
they're
like 'em.
unique. I like that. Ken needs some self-esteem soon, or I'm gonna go crazy though.
I just like how human they feel.
Yeah.
They're. I mean, obviously they have powers, but like, they're not like strong archetypes. Like they do lean into archetypes,
Minus
but they,
Princess Girl, but
what I mean just the main two characters though.
Yeah.
They just feel like, they're hanging out at the house, they're talking normal, they're leaving, they're like bye, and just like there's no like really strong archetypical aspects to them. There's slight ones, of course, but like
they still feel unique though.
yeah, but they just feel like human beings, which I like.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And then Granny's a character, like Momo's grandma. Obviously, we don't have a lot on her, so we just have her, like her attitude and the way she presents herself is basically what we have right now. I hope they go into that a little deeper because I'd like to like her as a character
I'm
more.
sure they will, but
But right now, she's fun.
Yep.
Same with Turbo Granny, even though I feel like we know Turbo Granny more than
Way more.
Momo's grandma at this point.
Yeah.
Which is important now that she's sidecast. So I guess that was worth spending time on in the first.
Yeah, I was
4
wondering
episodes.
before she became, part of the cast is like, we're spending like episodes really exploring this. And then like
Yeah.
when they brought up that, I thought they're pulling a demon slayer and trying to humanize her, but they are adding an element to her that is positive so that if she's going to be part of the cast, she's not just all bad.
Yeah.
Because she was visiting the spirits of the girls who had been, and looking over them who had been, killed.
Discarded.
In the tunnel or whatever. And so even though she is this like monster yokai that does this stuff, she also has this element to her that's like protective.
Yeah.
They just kind of stepped into the wrong place to run into her. So yeah, it gives her an element of like, oh, she's not all bad.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I also think the show just oozes creativity. Like
yeah,
the visuals, the designs of things, like all the connections. I'm sure a lot of it is deep connected in a lot of like Japanese. What word do I want? Whatever.
what, like folklore or
Yeah,
like,
stuff like that. Basically, the word is escaping me, but there's a lot of stuff there that probably makes more sense culturally. Like
Yeah.
if you're Japanese, I'm not obviously.
it's
so lost
drenched
on
in
me a
it.
little
Yeah.
bit. I'm catching some of it, but like there's moments where I'm just like, I think this is cool, but it has no deeper meaning to me right now. So,
Anytime I watch anything or play anything that has to do with like supernatural, like Japan stuff, I have to kind of like let them just kind of take control of the story. And I have to just kind of like absorb it
Go along
because
with
it's
it,
so
yeah.
different than like our supernatural stuff. Like you go back even to like The Grudge, the
Mm-hmm.
movie when that first came out, the idea of like a cat and a little boy merging together because of a traumatic incident. That's not like a Western
Right.
thing. And so like, when I'm watching anything that's supernatural and it has to do with Japanese stuff, I'm just like, the rules are different.
Yeah.
And so the inspiration is different. So like when you have a crab merging with Turbo Granny, this,
a bunch of dead girls.
yeah, obviously it's just an anime. They can do whatever the hell they want, but a lot of that is inspired by Japanese culture, obviously. And so it's,
Well, there are probably yokais that exist I just don't know about, right? So,
Sure.
Like, and that's fine. Like I understand it in the
Not
context
everybody-
of the show, right?
not everybody watched Yokai Watch.
Yeah, and then I also agree. I think the school episode was a much needed spot for
yeah.
breathing, because it allowed me to absorb the show now, and now we get to spend time with our main characters. Finally, we
Yeah,
finally
spent
get to
the
spend
whole
time
episode.
with them. So they become more human. We get to discover. I mean, they're teenagers, right? So they have these like hormonal problems that I haven't had to deal with in a long time. But you look at it and you go, that gets better, I promise, type of thing. He's, Ken's sitting there wondering, like, he's just got all this self-doubt, even though like she is his friend, like, and he just needs to be comfortable and confident in that he's not there yet. And then, with her, she doesn't know really how to approach this guy. She's only ever been with like pricks,
Yeah.
as like those are the only like male figures in her life. Otherwise, all her friends are female. So,
Gossip circle.
yeah, and then like us getting introduced to like even her friend group and the way like they talk to each other, it feels like a group of girls having a conversation. Like it doesn't feel like crazy. So
Yeah, that's another thing that surprised me about the show is like the characters all feel super human to the point that even when they're like talking, there's like nuance to their gossip that is surprising, because they're like at first like teasing her and saying she's like, you know, into the dude, dating the dude, whatever. But then, and they're kind of like, he's an otaku, he's a dork, blah, blah, blah. But then later when she's like being mean to him after that, they're like, you went kind of hard on him. Like, he's actually a good guy.
Yeah.
And like, so they're not like full on just like, oh, he's just a dork and that's it. They're not one dimensional.
They don't have a problem with him.
Yeah.
They're teasing her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting that they even offered an alternate point of view.
Yeah.
To be like, well, he actually like defended you too. I heard that. Like, so, yeah, I think the writing, and you don't see much of it in the first couple episodes. The writing is actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
So,
and I hope that continues, because it's been probably my favorite part of the show so far.
Same.
The action stuff's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love any like, just as a rule going forward. Like, if there's action in anime and it's drawn well, I'm here for it, man.
Sure.
So
it's just funny because like we got to know the characters later, and it's only a couple episodes into the show, but a lot of animes, when you first watch them, you get like an introduction. They're at home, they walk to school, you see something happen. This show started with like her physically fighting her boyfriend, like kicking him and shit, which is wild. And then she runs into Okarun, who all we know is he's like into UAP, and they get into an argument, and then they send each other to a place that just throws us into what the world can offer, basically, when it comes to aliens and shit. But like, we don't know who the fuck these people are still.
Yeah.
Like, we barely know them. And then all this crazy shit happens. I'm like, but then finally we got to sit with them and listen to them talk. And I'm like, oh, they're likable characters. That's cool. So
yeah, for sure. And then, we're introduced to, you know, our next, I guess, I hate to say villain or enemy, but the next thing they have to deal with now. I can't remember her name now. Something, it doesn't matter. The ballerina / silky hair demon yokai thing. Yeah, who wants everyone to call her mom.
Yeah. Which I like creepy shit and supernatural stuff and just darker stuff in general. I like the whole idea that these ghosts are existing, but like they can't interact with you unless you can interact with them, basically.
Yeah.
Well, like people in real life will say, like, you know, if you believe in ghosts or not, they'll say, like, you know, oh, if you see ghosts or you hear something, don't talk to them, because you don't want them to know that you can hear them or see them. And so the idea in this show that if you can see them, then they can see you.
Then they can see
now they can do something to you, basically. And so when that girl had the ability to start seeing that woman, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And now she's like pursuing her. She's been there the whole time. But like, and we'll find out more. Obviously, there's something in the past that we didn't get the full story on. But
yeah, and they teased it already, so
which I'm interested in that. But the idea that, you know, she's been around, but now she has access. I'm like, that's kind of creepy. Yeah. I like that. So,
and then the designs have been pretty cool too, which
really
in a weird sort of way kind of reminded me of Hollows in Bleach. It's a weird comparison.
Kind of. I was wondering what they reminded me of.
Yeah.
Even Okarun, when he turns into his fucking turbo mode, a lot of there's a lot of shots from the front, and like he's got those crazy teeth. He almost looks like a train. I think it's on purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a, you know, high speed train or something.
That's a good way to word that.
Yeah, but but the teeth and stuff just reminds me, of that. I was like, what does this remind me of?
It reminds me of a Hollow Mask, for sure. And then the animation in this show and pacing in the beginning of the show, like I was getting loosely, be careful with that, what I'm saying here, but it very much kind of reminded me of Kill la Kill in a lot of ways, which is an old Trigger anime that is very hyper.
Yeah, I can see that.
And weird. Like, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh, it all makes sense, right? Because that's Trigger's old animes are all like that. But this kind of is giving me vibes of like old Trigger, so it's interesting. I definitely want to see where the show goes. So that's my impression. So I rambled, but
yeah, that's fine. We're covering 6 episodes, so it's gonna be a little longer of a review than normal. But yeah. Anything else?
No.
You're liking it?
I have a complaint, and people are gonna disagree with me.
That's fine.
I'm not liking the music, like just in general. The music during the show, I'm not a big Creepy Nuts fan. I'm sorry.
I don't know what that is.
The intro music is Creepy Nuts is the band.
Yeah, that song's pretty meh.
I'm not into it. Sorry.
If you
the
like it,
outro's
it's fun,
good.
though.
I like the outro song.
Yeah.
So
I like the outro in general.
Yeah.
That now that we know that's Turbo Granny.
Oh, the cat. Yeah.
Yeah. Because for a while I was like, what is this? Like, whose cat is this? And now,
But even when events are happening in the show, they play certain
The
tracks, and I'm
music.
not like loving it. So,
yeah, it's not the best. In the show, it's not so bad, but also it could definitely be better. There's some sound design things I think sound good though, but yeah, the intro song's not great in my opinion. If you like it, I'm happy for you.
no, everyone loves it. So, sorry.
Yeah, it's a little too Western for me, so it's like kind of boring. And then the outro, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, unless you have anything else to say?
Nope.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think about these episodes so far. Hopefully you've watched all 6 episodes. Hopefully you're going to keep watching it. What's your favorite thing about the show so far? Have you read the manga coming into this? How you liking it from that perspective? Who's your favorite characters? Who's your least favorite characters? What do you think is coming up soon? Please no spoilers if you know any. Yeah, how you feeling all, across the board when it comes to the show? Also, what are your thoughts on the pacing? Are we crazy, or do you just kind of feel that too? If you don't agree, it's fine. Just let us know. And yeah, tell us what animes we should watch as well. We are currently watching. We're gonna watch Dragon Ball Daima at some point. Hopefully, I gotta have time for that.
We're playing catch up.
We're playing catch up. So that's why we're doing this big chunk anime review. And then we watched Ranma. Half.
Yeah.
We're caught up on that. We did 1 through 5 review.
It's on the channel.
We just watched 6. We're probably not gonna do episodic reviews, but we might do another like kind of checkpoint review at some point soon. We're gonna continue watching that, and then we're watching this. I might start doing episodic reviews for this. Would you be open to that?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. And starting from episode 7 on, and yeah. Recommend us some anime. But I've been Seth. This has been Chevy. Stay tuned. We'll have more stuff coming, and we'll talk to you guys later.